What's up, .NET developers? Are you really excited for .NET 8 coming out in November of 2023, but you aren't really sure why it's November in 2023? Well, let's talk a little bit about the release lifecycle for .NET right here on What's New in .NET and C Sharp with Isaac. Hey folks, Isaac Levin here with another edition of What's New in .NET and C Sharp with Isaac. We're going over all sorts of the cool things that are coming out to .NET and C Sharp all the way up to November 2023 when .NET 8 and C Sharp 12 launches. And if you're liking the videos here, be sure to do a few things for me. Why don't you comment down below, tell me what you like, what you want to see more of. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share it with your friends so they can do the same. And as we've talked about for the last few months, we've talked about all sorts of the cool new features that are coming out to .NET 8 and C Sharp 12. We also talked about the support policy, so when you could expect certain versions of .NET to run out of support. But I keep on saying like it comes out in November 2023, and it might be a good idea to talk a little bit about as to why we ship .NET, or we get a new version of .NET in November 2020 or November of every year at .NET Conf. And there's a particular reason for that, and I think it's really important to call out. So let's actually just talk a little bit about how current software typically ships. So, as everybody knows, like .NET is a framework, it's a piece of software that's built by the .NET team at Microsoft, and it gets released at a particular time. And how the typical flow works, similar to a lot of other software release life cycles, is you start off with previews, and each preview builds upon itself to, provide new functionality, new innovation, as well as fix bugs and harden that particular release. And then at a particular time when it's feature complete, or we get to a point where, hey, I think it's only time that we make this hardened in production ready. And that's when we get to the RC stage, which stands for release candidate. And what release candidate is really interesting is because you can expect most of the primary functionality of that particular piece of software to remain unchanged. The only thing that's really left is, hardening, like I mentioned, bug fixes, things like that. And once we get to a point where, all of the bug fixes and the hardening has been satisfied, we get to a point where it's GA, or generally available. And for .NET in this particular case, it happens at .NET Conf every November. And let's talk a little bit as to why that's the case. So this is a crude table of the versions of .NET that have come out previously, right? To this particular point in time, starting at 4.7 to .NET 7, there were different ways or different times when .NET was shipped. If you look at .NET Framework, it was usually shipped during the same time as Visual Studio. And, starting in .NET Core, similar, and then we got to .NET 5 where, the .NET team decided, let's start shipping at a scheduled time every single year and have it be November or .NET Conf timeframe, and we'll create a little moment around the release of the new version of .NET and get everybody excited. And that happened, like I mentioned, .NET 5, which came out in November of 2020. And then, we have the current LTS, which is .NET 6, which came out in November 2021. And then last year, we have the current latest STS version of .NET, .NET 7, and that came out in November of last year. And if you're interested about LTS, STS, what all that means, be sure to like the video up top here where I talk about the support policy. So we're getting to a point where it's, at the time of this video, it's September 2023. So let's talk a little bit about what's next. And that's the future LTS of .NET, which comes out the first day of .NET Conf, November 14th of 2023. And the expectation is that you'll have support for 3 years from that, so November 2026. And then if you're looking even more to the future, we have the future STS, standard term support, of .NET, which is .NET 9, November 2024, that's the projected, hasn't been announced officially, but there's a pretty high likelihood that's going to happen. And then you would get that STS support 18 months out, which is May of 2026. So as you can see, we went from having a version of .NET shipped randomly, usually coinciding with quarters or releases of Visual Studio, to every single November, we're going to get a new version of .NET and we're going to celebrate it. But let's talk a little bit about where we're at with .NET 8 in the .NET 8 release lifecycle. So the first preview of .NET 8 was released on February 21st of 2023, and then we had 6 additional previews, like I mentioned, previews being bug fixes, additional hardening, more features being added to the framework, every month up into .NET 8 Preview 7, which was in August. So at the time of this recording, like I mentioned, September 15th, yesterday, we got the first release candidate of .NET 8. And that's exciting because then we can actually start looking at the APIs, start looking at some of the functionality that exists, and rest assured that these aren't going to change significantly like they could during the preview stage. And then usually what happens with .NET is there's another release candidate, which happens about a month after that. So in October timeframe, we'll probably see an RC2. And then finally, like I mentioned, first day of .NET Conf, November 14th of 2023, we're going to have the GA of .NET 8. And there's going to be all sorts of great content around some of the cool functionality that's coming out in .NET 8, and it's going to be a fun time. So take a look at some of the cool things that are coming out. The .NET team is going to be tweeting out and posting in all sorts of different channels the cool things that are coming out. And that's what I really wanted to show. I just wanted to really quickly talk about what is coming in .NET 8, but also it's important to talk about like how we've gone to this point, the work that's been put into it. And I want to tip my cap to all the folks, community, as well as the .NET team that have gotten us to the point where we're just a couple of months out from the newest version of .NET, which is all exciting. And I want to hear what some of the cool things you're excited about. So be sure to comment down below and share with your friends this video. And I'm excited to see what you're going to be building with .NET 8. So that's it for me. I hope you have a great day. Take care.